2 Samuel 5:11 through 6:23, and 1 Chronicles 13 through 16. We're now seeing David put his administration into the city of Jerusalem, or the city of David, and it seems that one of the decisions he makes is to move the tabernacle there, and because of that, the Ark of the Covenant. Now, the Ark of the Covenant has been out in the city of Kiriath Jearim, which is about 10 miles west of Jerusalem, for about 100 years. And so his decision to move the Ark of the Covenant into the city of David is part of our story in both of our readings, and in fact it's handled rather carefully. So let's talk about it. Well, the Ark was put on an ox cart, and it's 4 by 2 by 2 or so. And so as it was being moved through the hills, the hill country into Jerusalem, the decision was made to put it on this cart. And standing beside the cart, among others, was a man named Uzzah. Well, the text is very careful in saying that the oxen stumbled and the ark started to slip or tip, and Uzzah put out his hand to steady the ark. And the next thing we hear is that God killed him. David, of course, in a sense, learns the lesson here, and later they put it on staves, or they carry it with poles put through the staves. All right, so the question that we always ask, and I've wondered this, since I was a child, is why? Why would God get so upset about touching, literally, a box, especially when the text says that the oxen stumbled, that the purpose of Uzzah was not out of rebellion, but just out of, almost, according to the text, one of wanting to preserve God's ark from harm. Let me give you 3 options that we have come up with over the years, or people have recommended. One would be simply that he broke law, and I'm going to put it in quotes because it's there, but it's difficult sometimes to find. Here are 3 sample quotations. These are from commentaries. Uzzah dies not because God punishes him, but because he is not ritually prepared. Another one, Uzzah treats the ark in an unholy way. In his zeal, Uzzah was guilty of breaking God's law. And then a third, touching the ark was a direct violation of God's law, Numbers 4:15, which implies it wasn't to be touched. The incident was a dramatic reminder to David of God's holiness and of the necessity of approaching God only according to his revealed instruction. So that's one possibility. The challenge I've often thought of in relation to number 1, though, is why kill him? Back in 1 Samuel, David, remember this, went to the tabernacle and asked the priest for holy bread, and he was given the holy bread, and David ate it because he was hungry. So the point seems to be that we have been following a story where God has expressed his own character in a way that majors on the majors and minors on the minors. In fact, that great verse, we just read it in Psalm 103. As a father pities his children, so the Lord pities those who fear him. For he knows our frame, he remembers that we are dust. And with that in mind, to me, I find it surprising that God would kill a man for literally wanting to keep the ark from falling. Well, another option is, and let's put it in quotes again, is that there's something deeper going on here, and we're not sure what it would be. We'd have to fill in that idea with a blank that's not offered to us, right? My dad was a very kind, compassionate, quiet man. He's no longer with us. I never saw him lose his temper that I remember, except one time, and it was because of noise in the back seat of the car. Let's leave it at that. And I was shocked, and later I found out there was something else going on. But could it be here in this story that God kills Uzzah, but there's something in the heart and mind maybe of Uzzah that wasn't right with him? And again, we have to fill that in. There's nothing in the text that offers us number 2, but it would fit the story possibly to find out later, shall we say, that there was something going on here that we just didn't know. One last option, in fact, I'm going to put the word ascribed here. Listen to the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia as it describes another possibility here for what happens in this story. It reads this way, just a paragraph. Why did Uzzah die? The traditional explanation is that he, a non-Levite, had touched the most holy thing, which is prohibited prohibited in Numbers 4:15. Some modern scholars have suggested that Uzzah died in what would today be considered an accident, but in Old Testament times, Uzzah's death would have been regarded as a direct act of God. What we're talking about here, or what this author is giving as a possibility, is the idea that the writer of Samuel and Chronicles ascribed to this event God's direct action. God killed him. But if we had seen the story actually unfold, it might have been accidental. It might have been later he dies of something else. And the defense of that view would be, remember, for example, Naomi comes back to Bethlehem in Ruth 1. And she says, "Don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, for," quote, "God has dealt with me harshly." Well, again, we don't have evidence that God actually was mean to Naomi. In fact, the story seems to say the opposite. But the fact is that she took the difficult events of her life and ascribed it to Yahweh, in a sense. So I think it's a possibility that we always need to be open to the idea that narration, or history as the Old Testament portrays it for us, can sometimes have the author giving God credit for something that happens, shall we say, naturally. At least we have to give that an option. Well, what do I recommend in closing? This is a confusing moment for me personally, why God would do this here. I would even say it's okay not to know, and probably best even to not apply this to a preaching or an application in modern thinking, that God is thus with us because of this kind of a story. I would be careful doing that. In fact, to defend that idea of confusion, I would even look at David. Remember what David does right in the moment that this happens. It says that David was angry with Yahweh, and then it says he feared him because of this moment. So maybe even we could say David didn't understand what happened.